In Romans chapter 7, Paul continues his explanation on what it means for the believer to be sanctified. Now, remember, sanctification is the process of being conformed to the image of Jesus Christ, becoming like Jesus through the work of the Holy Spirit in our lives. This is an ongoing daily experience for the follower of Jesus. In Romans 6, we learn that the believer is declared free from sin and its power. And in Romans 7, we learn that the believer is declared free from the law. In Romans 6, Paul tells us to stop doing bad things. And now in Romans 7, he tells us that doing good things is not good enough. Paul begins chapter 7 with an illustration that proves that the law has authority over us. Paul also helps us to understand that the law is valuable. The law reveals sin, and sin remains a source of conflict in our lives. We feel this tension. The law and the demands of the law are in place, and we know that we can't keep the demands of the law, and we always fall short. The law is important. Paul helps us understand that the law itself is holy, just, and good. And the law reveals our sin. It shows how dirty we are. And the law helps us understand that we are guilty, that we stand condemned before a holy God on our own. We can't be holy and pure on our own. And when we try, that's where the legalism sets in. It's this idea of that you can become holy and please God by obeying laws, doing the right thing. It's measuring your spirituality of how good you are through a list of do's and don'ts. I feel like it's easy for the Christian life to become that list of do's and don'ts. But keeping a list doesn't get to the heart of the matter, through to the problem. When someone gets caught up in the list, they fail to understand the purpose of God's law and how the law and grace work together. Let me be clear. The problem here is not the law, but us, our sinful nature. Knowing that the law reveals our sinful nature, Paul, in the last half of this chapter, explains what the law cannot do. The law cannot change the condition of our heart. The law cannot transform us on the inside. It simply reveals how sinful we are. Which leads us to the next dilemma. There's a problem that I cannot do the good I want to do. And I end up doing the evil that I don't want to do. What does Paul mean here? Paul is basically saying that of himself, he could not obey God's law. Even when he did, evil was still present in his heart. The law cannot enable us to do good in the pure sense of the word. So we find this problem. Even when I want to do good, evil is right there with me. How can we do anything good then when his evil is right there with us? The law is good, but by nature, we're all sinful. In the final verses of this chapter, we learn that the law cannot set us free. Living under the law, we stay there. We stay guilty, trying our best, but never actually succeeding. Eventually, we give up. We're stuck. With all this talk of law and sin, it almost seems impossible to please God. Is there any hope? Absolutely. There's only one person who can deliver us from the demands of the law. It's Jesus. If we live under the law, we cannot please God or do anything that is good. However, when we accept Jesus Christ and all that he has done for us and follow him, we are dead to the law. The law requires sacrifice, and the sacrifice for all our mistakes was laid out on the cross. The old is gone, and there's a new way to live life. Now we are united with Christ and alive in him. Our relationship with Jesus and the Holy Spirit working in our hearts enables us to serve God, to really love God and love people. This is not something that we can do on our own, for God is working in you, giving you the desire and power to do what pleases him. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me.